water into the Black Sea.
Close. There was one that got way too close.
Do you still get any jitters, or is it just like, hey man, we're still alive and just keep going? What's it like?
I don't feel afraid at all. That's probably quite a strange thing to say, but I think, as Mark has said, if you can hear it, you're alive. And there's nothing you can do anyway. You've chosen to be in that place. You do become a little bit immune to it.
The thing about the artillery, like Hymie said, is if you can hear it, it didn't hit you. The couple times when we were in the courtyard, there were a couple when you can start hearing the whizzing of it, breaking the sound barrier or whatever it's doing there when it makes noise and it gets progressively closer to you, like that last one did. That does give you a little jitters. You would be probably a little insane not to have that affect you.
If you're not frightened of doing it and you're concentrating on your mission, you're focusing on what you want to do, somehow the adrenaline kicks in and you don't really think about it. And you know, people might sort of say, oh, be careful, and you're so brave and you're so fearless and how heroic. You don't feel that way at all when you're doing it. You just want to get the job done. So I want to see directly with my eyes and hear directly with my ears what is going on, so that when I go back home I can report truthfully to people. It's the poor, it's the disabled, it's the elderly, it's the people who are scared and have nowhere else to go, they're vulnerable. They don't have the choice.
They're just throwing artillery across the river to terrorize the population. So that gives me a sense of, not comfort, but a sense of understanding that if something did happen, it's going to be random, and a random strike with an artillery. I mean, the likelihood of that, unless you're being specifically targeted, is not as great, I think, as people think it is.
Mark and I actually make quite a good partnership, because Mark has sort of started off with his focus on supporting soldiers and the military. And I started off by deciding that my mission was to help teenagers and young children. And the humanitarian side works for both of us. And so we actually make different contacts in different areas, and that's been really important for us. But what it's also meant with having generous donors is that we've been able to do some sustainable projects too. We've paid for art therapy classes, we've just paid for some speech therapy classes for children who are traumatized. We've bought family starter kits of kitchen equipment and provided bedding for people who have been living in evacuation centres but are now being moved on to the next stage, which is temporary accommodation. So it's not just about handing out food bags and, you know, sweets for the kids. It's also about doing things which are more meaningful, which are helping people out of their terrible ordeal that they've been onto, and giving them a helping start towards the next stage, because they don't know, a lot of them don't know, tens of thousands of people don't know when they'll be able to return to their rightful homes, and they're displaced, but they can't live in evacuation centres forever. Personally, I have pledged to continue helping people in Ukraine for as long as this war continues.
My belief is this, that what we're doing with refugees and people displaced and civilians, that's necessary and it's important and it's critical. But in order to stop all of that suffering, we have to win this war. We have to win the war in order to stop the suffering, so that we can start to rebuild. So anything that we can do in order to win the war on the battlefield, you know, and I don't do that much. There's a lot of people doing a lot more than me, but what keeps me coming back is, you know, to me, this is my war now. I mean, there's a lot of people that think it doesn't have anything to do with them or whatever, but this is my war. So I'm gonna keep coming back until it's over.
What keeps you from feeling helpless with so much to do?
You have to start somewhere. If everybody sat back and said, I can't do anything, then nothing would be done. And I've seen people putting their hands on their hearts and crying, saying, thank you for being here, thank you for helping, in what I consider to be a modest way, but I might just have made their day in some small way.
What did you learn, Hymie, about American?
But if you say Sedona has a population of 9,000.
Sedona has a population of 9,000.
You get to know somebody pretty well, whether you want to or not. And, you know, like I say, we kind of have a love-hate relationship. You know, some days we'll be getting along real well, and the other days we want to strangle each other to death. But I mean, it's fun. We have light moments. It keeps us going, and you know, we get sick of each other, but we're a good team, and I think the way she described it is very unlikely, but we both have our focuses, we both have our skills and our things we need to work on, and I don't know, we complement each other.
It's better that we're not too similar.
Oh God.
I think if we were talking about
I know, if we were both
art
like you,
all the
it'd be
time,
misery.
Slava Ukraini.
Heroam Slava.